According to the scientific story, if you leave a very limited variety of molecules lying around long enough, they'll get up, start writing poems, fighting each other, making motor cars, create complex social structures and all the rest of it. That's the scientific story, isn't it? I've put it rather crudely, but that's the basic story. We've got inert matter. There's only so much variety in that matter. These are the elements. Probably not much more than a few dozen are necessary. And eventually these molecules will get together and start reproducing, create simple life forms and then more complex ones, like us, if you leave them lying around long enough. And I'm being a little bit unfair here, aren't I? We tend to think of science as dealing with materiality, physics. Physics is about physicality. Actually, it's not. It's not. Physics is about forces. Physics has hypothesized these forces. It can describe the strength of these forces. We've got gravity. We've got electromagnetic forces. There's only 3 or 4 of them, and the hope is that actually there's only the one force. And a force is something which causes movement, which causes acceleration, causes activity. But what is a force? What is a force? The force is something beyond our senses. We only ever experience the impact of forces. We never see a force. We can see it only indirectly, like when you sprinkle some iron filings over a piece of paper with a magnet underneath it. You'll see lines of force. So there's definitely something there, isn't there? But we can't experience it directly, only indirectly. So forces are what motivate things, they're what shape things, they're what get things moving. So the universe isn't just a bunch of inert elements. The universe is buzzing with force, or forces. Forces which we cannot see, we cannot experience directly. And perhaps they're only notions, perhaps they don't really exist at all. And how can they exist? We don't see them, we don't smell them, we don't feel them. We feel the results of them, we feel their impact, but we don't feel them at all. And this might seem quite mysterious, but this is the world we live in all the time. We're moved. Maybe not moved to accelerate, although you could say maybe we are. When we hear a song could move us. It moves us emotionally. It can accelerate our heart. We're certainly moved in some sense, and it's a physical sense. A song could have a physiological effect on us. Lots of non-physical things have a physical effect on us. Bad news, for example. We hear some bad news, it can cause your hair to fall out. So bad news, good news have very powerful effect on us. They're forces. The force of ideas. Look at communism, the force of the idea of communism. Look how many deaths that idea was responsible for in the 20th century. Political ideas. Far worse than religious ideas. Although religious ideas are much more damaging in their own way. But we've got religious ideas as well, so we've got these ideas, we've got these notions which have a powerful effect on us physically and in terms of our whole perception of reality. Richard Dawkins calls ideas memes, behaviour and ideas which are transmitted culturally. The point I'm making here is we do not live in a physical world. We live in a world of feelings, of ideas, These are what move us. And yet we like to sort of ignore all that and think, I'm in touch with solid reality. I'm in touch with solid reality. As if we're trying to reassure us that the world is not what it actually is. No such thing as solid reality. The scientists have recently built this huge hadron collider to try and understand where matter comes from, because there's no physical theory to explain matter. Physics, physicality, physics is having a hard time explaining matter. It can't actually prove the existence of matter. So they're looking for this God particle. Even death does not put an end to all this. When the notion of reality is transferred from one substance to another, that is known as death. So it's like a meme. The notion of reality, the notion of an external world, is transferred from one substance to another. This is the life force. Why should the life stop when the body dies? Why should all these non-physical forces, all these non-physical aspects of ourselves stop when the body dies? All these forces are still carrying on. They're not dependent on the existence of a physical body, which is highly notional in itself, which is 100% notional actually. Behold, right in front of you now, countless creations of countless beings which exist within those beings. You're one of those countless beings. You have your creation. You have your stories about creation, your myths about reality. You are an ego sense with your own story about an external world out there. That's your creation. There is mind within prana or life force, and the world exists in the mind. So this is life force. It's called prana. And I tend to try to avoid talk of prana because it gives rise to some woolly notions. But why not understand it as life force? A force which is clearly going on. There is mind within prana or life force, and the world exists in the mind. So this life force is simply what gives rise to notions of a self and notions of an external world, or notions of creation. At the time of death, this prana leaves the body and enters into space. So we're getting this story of prana here, of life force, and it's a useful way of talking, but we'll have to wait till the next video to see what Vasishta's got to say about it.